we were going to get this boat, and, in 6 months we were going to have it back in the water.
Right.
And,
yeah, this is like 3 times bigger than the head on my boat.
You're never going to run out of power anywhere on this boat.
What key advice would you have for someone who was...
If there's any lightning strike, it should dissipate without doing a lot of damage to the boat, according to Nigel.
This one's up for sale. We've listed it at $129,900.
I hope somebody finds it and will love it like we did.
Hey guys, I just got here to the shipyard in Apalachicola and I have a new listing here. It is an Islander 41. It's a Freeport model and it's up for sale. The listing's up. I will put it down in the description, and I am going to have a little walk through this boat with one of the owners. His name is Rick Ingman. He has rewired this entire boat. He's gone through all the systems in this boat. Him and a good friend of his were going to do a circumnavigation, and we're going to talk all about that. We're going to talk to him and talk about what his plan was and what they did to the boat and why they did it. But they had a change of plans, so it's almost complete, and we'll go over what's left to do on this boat. So if you're interested, get in touch. But otherwise, let's go check this out.
Hi, how are you? Glad to have you aboard the Proteus.
Thank you. So this is Rick Ingman, and he is one of 2 owners of this boat. And so what was your plan with this boat going into it?
Well, Mike and I bought this boat originally. We were buddies more than 30 years ago when I was, Mike's from New Zealand, and I was going to university in New Zealand, and we met each other in a vintage motorcycle club, and then kind of went our ways, and I ended up in Europe. Mike ended up in Australia, and about 3 years ago, we decided that I was talking to Mike, and he was saying, I want to buy a sailboat. I want to, go live on the Barrier Reef somewhere in northern Queensland, but he was complaining about, the prices in Australia are so expensive, and I said, well, the largest sailboat market in the world is Florida.
Right.
And I said, I was living in Germany at the time, but I said, I got nothing really to do. I said, why don't you come over to the States and we'll find a boat and we'll just sail it back to Australia.
Right.
So the idea was born. What we were looking for naturally was an ocean crossing boat.
Right.
Something mid-80s and earlier with
fiberglass. Yeah.
That's this thick, heavyweight. We wanted a shallower draft.
What is the draft on this boat?
5 foot.
Okay.
It's
not bad.
Yeah. It's a long keel on it. This one fit the bill. It was a shallower draft for getting across in lagoons and things in the South Pacific. Originally, the plan was going to be we were going to get this boat, and in 6 months we were going to have it back in the water.
Right.
And
that never happens.
and spend it. I'd been wanting to do a Trans-Pacific for most of my adult life, and so the mechanical systems of the boat were all basically new. The engine, the transmission, the the previous owner of the boat had a lot of good work done to it. I was looking at the wiring harnesses in the engine room and trying to pick out the old stuff, and it was, the wiring bundle was like this big around. So I just stripped everything out of the boat. But this boat is really meant to be an international boat. In that when planning all the electrics for this thing, the main power in this thing is 230 volt, which is the rest of the world, so I based everything on that. All the appliances, most everything is 230 volt, and I set it up as 24 volt, which is way more efficient than 12 volt and things like that. So, the boat really is 95+% ready to be put back in the water. It needs, just a few days before somebody drops it in the water. It needs to have the bottom paint and stuff put on it, but it's on the hard. But yeah, so we're just like I say, our 2-year time frame's just gone. I have commitments now that the trip is
sure.
It's finished, and so reluctantly we need to move the boat on. But like I say, the boat's set up for ocean voyages. We didn't concentrate as much cosmetically. I mean, this boat doesn't shine, but it is electrically and mechanically sound and well thought out, with the view of somebody that wants to cross an ocean. Yeah, there was no sense. The Cardinal's trying to come in.
Well, that's what that was. I heard something drop. These birds are relentless.
He's dropping you a present, some seeds. Like I say, I based the boat off a 24 volt system just because it's more efficient, less voltage drops and things like that. A lot of people run 24 volt because you can use smaller wire gauges and have less loss. 3%, 10%'s normal, 3%'s great, 1%'s almost never heard of. But so that's the reason that some people you can use smaller wires, which costs less in doing it. But I still used, even though I used 24 volt, I still used wire gauging sizes rated for 24 volts, which means that there's less than 1% or 1% of loss of current loss in the longest runs on this boat, which is almost, I mean, there's, everything's 3/0, 4/0, 1/0, all my main cables. I set this boat, anybody that's a serious boat electrician definitely knows Nigel Calder. And so Nigel Calder's Bible there has been, was my guide going through this thing. And sometimes I even upped his stuff because redundancy. You need to know if you're 3,000 miles off ashore that if something goes wrong, it's easy to fix. Or it's not going to go wrong, or you have a redundant system in place to do it. And so that's big for me in the aircraft world, is redundancy. I've set the boat up as a distributed system, whereas most all boats, everything comes back to the central panel and the central batteries. But what I've done in this is put a backbone in this boat of like 3/0 to the rear cabin and to the front cabin, so not everything has to run back to the main panel. You can do the same in the back for future proofing it, so like all the lights and stuff and the front head are pulled off of an electrical point in the front cabin. The stuff that's you can run stuff off the rear cabin also, so you have the possibility in the future to change, add, whatever. You're never gonna run out of power anywhere on this boat, and you don't have to drag everything all the way through. Yeah. I've replaced everything in it. I've run new wires up the mast. I've even run extra wires for the future. If anybody if anybody needs to add anything more, like I added new LED spreader light, so there's an extra 4 wires coming up to the spreaders, and there's extra 4 wires running all the way up to the top of the mast if you want to add more lights, more anything like that. Everything, I say 98% of all the wiring in this boat is numbered with the wiring list, which you have, that says this wire runs from this point to this point. It is X gauge wire. It has, if it has a fuse in it, it has this type of fuse. The only things that I couldn't convert over to 12 volts were all the the electronics, the Ray Marine, the axioms, the radars, all that stuff. I couldn't change that over, and so the boat has a split system. You can run it off. I have inverters in here that are 24 to 12. So yeah.
Well, I think you've done well with it. There's a lot going on in here. Do you want to walk through and show us some?
Yeah. Like I say, we can start here with the electrics, because this is really the heart of the boat right here. What makes it so special,
right,
is the electric system in it. And so yeah, if you want, we'll go through and I'll show you where it starts.
Yeah.
First of all, the actual heart of the boat are the battery banks are sitting right here. These are 3.2 volt cells, so they are 8S batteries. So they are 3 banks, 280 amps each at 24 volts. These are those cat cells for people that know what I'm talking. The blue 3.2 volt cells. And there's 8 of them in here. They're wired together. They have a BMS, which you can either, everything will work. You can look through the Victron to look at them, or JBD, the company that makes the BMSs. You can download the app and you can look at each battery bank to check how it's running. But they're 200 amp BMSs on these things, which means you can effectively pull up to 600 amps at any one time, which is nothing. The highest amperage beast on this boat is the Vetus bow thruster, and it pulls about 380 amps. So there's ample power for anything. You can access these BMSs through the JBD app, which I think is called Jiao Jang or something like that. But you can also plug it into a laptop. I built switching mechanisms in here, so if you didn't want to do it with Bluetooth, you would just switch the switch over, and you can take and plug the cable into your laptop to do the amps, to look at the charging. So you have that option. Say everything is, this is all 3/0 cable. All the cable in here is marine cable. It's all tinned. Everything is hydraulically crimped. All of the shrink wrap is glued shrink wrap. All of the end connectors are marine shrink wrap with glue. There's no AutoZone stuff on the critical components. I have all of all the batteries come up. Each one is individually switched. All of my major electrical components are Victron, everything, and Blue Sea. But like I say, everything comes into here. What fuses are here, grounds, everything's labeled. Victron Smart Shunt, 1000 amp. The super fast blow Class T fuses in the main lines. Main shutoffs. The bus bars, these are Blue Sea 1000 amp bus bars. You can see everything's got a number. I made all of these, the new switch panels. So you can see if any work needs to be done or a switch goes bad, it's easy it's easy to get into it and replace it. You know, they pop out. Everything's numbered. This corresponds to whether they are 12 volt or 24 volt. Each number is there. You can see the smart solar. That's the Serbo GX box. That's a 70 amp Orion 24 to 12 converter there. But like I say, I've tried to get everything, you know, make it flow, that you don't get these big bundles of stuff. I do have also in here for the Serbo GX, I've got the Mark III, the VE bus to USB, so you can take this. You can do everything wireless, but sometimes on a laptop you can the Victron program, you can do a little more with it, and so you can plug this into your laptop and you know, really get down and dirty with all the settings and stuff like that. But yeah, you know, we can plug more things into it. The iridium, everything kind of runs through it. But like I say, I've tried to keep everything neat and orderly and kind of in line, almost like it would be in an aircraft. Yeah, it's got an automatic light switch on it, so you know when it turns off when you open it. That's wired direct, so even if there's some kind of if there was a failure, something, it doesn't matter. It goes right straight to the batteries, so you always have light in here to be able to see what's going on. There is a spot we were going to put a ham radio in here, so that's kind of what this hole is. was going to put a ham. The boat's got a brand new insulated backstay for the ham, and there is up under here, there's another 2412 40 amp inverter that was going to be used for the tuner. If you wanted to put a ham radio in here, you can put up to a 40 amp tuner in this thing. The connections are already there. We just didn't do it yet. Everything's tied into the Victron, the Serbo GX, and the I think they call this the something 50 screen. As you can see, I don't even have the protective covers not even pulled off of it, but I have it tied into the water and fuel tanks. And you can see here I also have analog water and fuel tanks, so you can cut these on, and these are three-way switches here, so you can read position 1 up, shifts it over to the Serbo. You can see there's nothing reading right there, but now you're getting a reading here on this one. So if I switch it back over there, this gauge goes off and we get the water tanks right here. So it's back up. If there was any, and the fuel's done the same way, if there was any problem with any of the electronics, you could still go back analog and check how much water and diesel you have. So, but like I say, I've tried to pull everything here. The boat has, which we'll see in a bit, but it's got the oh gosh, having another senior moment. The Victron Multi Plus. It's the 5000 24 5230. So it's a 230 volt, 5000 volt amps, 24 volt, and it also powers a 3000 watt 24 to 120 volt American system. So throughout the boat there are both 120 volt and European 230 volt Schuko, which is kind of the standard European. You can put whatever. Mike was going to have to change these when he gets back to Australia, because Australia uses a different format. And so you know, I've done things like throughout the boat, in the front cabin, the rear cabin here, there are USB chargers. Everything pulls through here. The Iridium Go, this is the brand new. I hadn't even activated the first SIM card in. This is the offshore kit, which comes with the exterior, the big satellite GPS receiver that's mounted on the stern, so you don't have to take this one out. You could if you wanted. It will pop off of here and becomes portable, but you don't have to. The Victron system also ties into the Raymarine system, so you can sit up on the helm and on the in the Lighthouse 4 software and the Axioms. There's 2 Axiom 9s. You can just punch up the Victron app, and it will, you know, you can see the current overview of everything. But like I say, this is really kind of the way the boat's laid out. It's what kind of makes it unique, in that it's easy to get to, easy to find, and it kind of deviates a little bit more from typical boat stuff, but it goes more into the aircraft world, which I find a whole lot better. But yeah, so like I say, this is really the heart of the boat, is right here. You know, lightning protection. A lot of people here in the States don't do that, but being out in open water, it's crazy. So this boat has got, I have doubled. I've got, well, more than doubled, you know, the ABYC requirements for how many square inches of you know, lightning protection. You know, it runs from the mast, 4/0 cables, super short run, but the lightning protection on the outside is 2.5 inches by 1/4 inch copper strips that go the length of the hull. There's 20-odd feet of it. So if there's any lightning strike, it should dissipate without doing a lot of damage to the boat, according to Nigel. So I took Nigel's recommendations and doubled them. But you know, they're tied in. The lightning protection's tied in, you know, like it should be to the you know, to the engine grounds and everything like that. So it you know, it's just one of those extra things that should be done when heading across an ocean. And so, you know, it's got ample lightning protection. All right, and here is the real engine room, one that you can actually crawl in.
Yeah, it's a lot of space in here.
Yeah, you can sit down, you can work on the motors, you can work on everything that you want. So this was one of the biggest selling points for me, for the Islander. Oh yeah. Was this, because man, I've seen enough videos of all the sailing channels where people are laying on their bellies with the thing right in the floor and trying to reach. No, everything in here is accessible, and so this, like I say, this was a huge selling point.
Yeah, this is like 3 times bigger than the head on my boat.
Yeah, no, it's not. Yeah, you can just about set up a bunk in here.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, you definitely could. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the engine room. This is a Perkins 4236, 85 horsepower. The other nice thing about this boat is it's a center cockpit, of course, but the sole here is removable. So if the engine ever has to have work done on it, you just unbolt the binnacle and everything and pull this out, and the engine lifts right straight out into the cockpit. Totally rebuilt the motor, so everything's got like less than 200 hours on it. We sailed it and motored it around from Fort Pierce 2 years ago, put about 80 hours on it. But basically it's all brand new. The transmission's new, the shaft is new. When they did that, they put new PSS dripless seals in it, all new. So mechanically, this thing is still new. It is still new. It hardly has any hours on it, and a Perkins is yeah, a Perkins is a great motor. They're strong. It runs about 1700 RPMs is its sweet spot. The risers, these were all custom. He had these custom fabricated. Oh, there's never been any salt water through this engine. It's internally, the heat exchanger, you know, cools through the seacock, but so there's never been any salt water in this engine. It's always been antifreeze cooled. I came in and after we got it back here to Appalach, we decided to do an oil change on it. Like most everybody, you know, it's a horizontal filter on it, and I said never again. I always put remote spin-ons on everything. So that was the first thing I did, was ordered this. This is a Dural kit, which they make for race cars and stuff. So it's a dual spin-on filter kit, which means you can go at least twice as long between oil changes with this thing. And I got there's a whole case full of these big wicks, which are really great diesel filters. There's a whole case of them down there, but it makes it easier. You don't get oil all in the bilge and trying to get that stuff. You can fill them back up. They go back in vertically, spin them right on, and it's not a problem. It makes oil changes so much easier. Other things that I did are, like, let's say the binnacles right here. If you ever had to take the engine out of here, like I say, you have to pull all this off. When they hook this thing up, naturally, all the electrical wires and the through-hole wires and the controls for the wind. Well, it didn't have controls back here. It does now, but when I got it, but all the controls there was no way to undo them. So the guys at the yard, just snipped, check all the wires. So when I put everything back in here, I went in and put connectors all right, all real close up here. So if anybody ever has to take the binnacle out or anything, you don't have to worry about cutting your wires to your transducer and messing things up. And the controls for the Vetus bow thruster, there's a connectors to everything right in here. So it just all unplugs. You'd have to undo the throttle cables and steering cables, but everything would come out without an issue. The boat also, I put in for the fuel system, I have 2 Raycor filters here that would also act as a fuel filtering system. There's a series of valves here, and one way flows it through to the engine and back, and then if you turn them the other way, it blocks off the engine, and it just recirculates the fuel. There's an electric fuel pump right here. So if you're in the tropics, you have sometimes problems with dirty fuel or bloom or anything in the fuels. You got 2 Raycors here. You can just recirculate the fuel regularly to keep any sediment stuff out. You can also use them individually. So if a fuel filter were to stop up, you can bypass it and use the other one. So there's backup in that you should never have any problems with getting fuel to the engine. With the charging for the 24 volts, this boat had no generator on it that was dead. You know how they do the generator heads rust out, but the little single cylinder Ferryman diesel motor that was in it was good, and so I pulled the head off of the generator, and then the original plan was to take which is right here, a 24 volt 250 amp Lease Neville, which are super common, which is why I got them. They're for big Mack trucks and stuff like that, but it's a 250 amp. I was going to have the Ferryman single cylinder diesel, spin that up, so it would still be a generator, but it would just recharged the 24-volt batteries. This alternator was originally supposed to sit up here with its own little motor and charge the main batteries, and then the Balmar 12-volt alternator was mounted on here for the starting batteries. At one point when we thought we were going to get back in the water before I had my heart attack, we were pretty close to doing it, and I was putting the Ferryman diesel motor back together, and the parts are unobtainium for it, and I ended up breaking a piston ring. So that plan went out the window. So what I had to do was come in here and design a system for the Perkins, which doesn't exist, to put this big Lease Neville alternator on. As you can see here, I've got still, if anybody wants to change anything back and put the 24 volt back on sort of thing, and put the 12 volt back on the motor. Here's all the Balmar external regulators here. They're all switchable, so if you wanted to start the engine without loading it up right straight off with the charging for the batteries, you can turn the regulator off so you get a nice easy start. Same thing. This is the 24 volt external regulator. These are smart regulators, ZM5. They're made by a gentleman in New Zealand, and they are fabulous. You can program them all kinds of ways. I have 2 of them, so there's a spare. Same thing, it's switched here. The wiring for the 12 volt alternator stuff is still here, so if anybody in the future, like I say, wanted to go back to it, it's not a problem. But on this, what I've had to do was fabricate new arms for the alternator. Now, because this Lease Neville alternator has a 8-rib belt, not a V belt, there's no way you can run these little V belts off of with a 240 volt alternator. So Perkins and nobody else made any kind of crank or housing that would fit on this motor that would accept an 8-rib flat belt. So what I had to do was go in. I had a machine shop in Panama City. They built me a Zwischenstück. I can't think of it in English, only in German, but an adapter that goes from the Perkins bell housing through to this pulley here. Now this pulley, we have to match the optimum output of the alternator to the optimum RPM of the engine. So this thing runs best at between 16 and 1800, and the alternator has its peak, or its best performance at 6,500 RPMs. And then naturally, because the old alternator was a 3-point system, it came from the bell housing, came across the water pump, and then came out to the alternator and then back down, pretty standard. And then you tightened it on the arm here. Because I could no longer do that, I had to go in and shorten the belt. It's really it's a 2-point belt now. It runs from the crank to the water pump without any way to tension it. So I had to go in and build a frame in here, and what I ended up doing was putting an automatic tensioner out of like a Toyota Corolla. And the reason that I did that was because they are available. I don't care if you are in Samoa. You're going to be able to get an early 2000s Toyota belt tensioner. So that's what I did. So it's got an automatic belt tensioner on it, just like in your car. So you don't have to worry about the tensioning these between the water pump and the crank. There's still the exhaust is here. The muffler and the exhaust is here for the generator if anybody wants to put it back in. This is, of course, the Perkins hot water from the boat. Naturally comes through the heat exchanger. It was electric, but we didn't want to use that. But so it's just it runs through here. All the boat water is all PEX. It's all got manifolds. You can cut. You don't have to. If anything happens and you need to replace a line, you don't have to turn the whole boat off. You can go to the main manifold, which is under the bunk in the front, and you can, it's labeled head, main or kitchen. You can just turn it off. Boom. So you don't have to have everything in the boat. So that's the hot water here. The electric is not hooked up on it. It would just run, when you run the engine, it would just fill the hot water heater. I do have on deck, right at the back, fresh hot and cold water. It comes right out of here. So, bathing in the tropics or cleaning fish or, whatever you want to do on the back. Take a shower. There's fresh hot and cold water up on the deck behind the cockpit. Engine room ventilation, also 24 volt. It blows out, so because it can, like in any engine room, it can get warm in here. Victron Multiplus here, all GFCI shore power breakers here. In this box here is also a secondary and energy meter, so you can actually look at what it's using if it's hooked up onto shore power. This has got the Seashore Marine galvanic isolator in it that's set right here. This is the 24 to 12 3000 watt inverter. Breakers here are the circuit breakers for the 230 volt. There's 3 of them, one for the front cabin, one for the lounge, one for the rear cabin. Same thing with the 120 volt. There's 3 breakers. These are those, they're GFCI breakers, but they're like the European ones. You can buy them here in the States too. I just forget what they're called, but so everything's broken up exactly the same. Like I say, one breaker for the front cabin, one breaker for the main cabin, and one breaker for the rear. Bilge pumps all down. There's like 4 bilge pumps just in the engine room here. Mix of 12 and 24. Originally, I was going to put right here a wall and put a water maker in it, but we decided not to. The exhaust, all the through holes have a shutoff on them. So if you're out sailing long passages and you're not going to need the motor, because with these batteries, you might need to charge the batteries maybe once every 4 or 5 days, depending on, or you could go longer depending on your engine use. But you can always come in here, shut these off, so you got no chance of water coming in. Everything is brand new 4-spar Marlon. But I've done it with the exhausts, with everything. Is all brand new. That's about the best that I could do it. It also has an automatic fire extinguisher in here also. It's a good system. It's all brand new and easy to get to, which is the most important thing in my opinion. That if you have to do any repairs on it, that it's not a problem. That's the crux of everything that's special about the boat. And like I said, we've got the distributed system, the over-engineered wiring, and it'll make a great voyaging boat for somebody.
Yeah. And now, so I know all of the electrical work was done in those systems, but what was done as far as plumbing systems and things like that? Was there
all the plumbing system was ripped out. Everything is done in a PEX. 200-gallon water tank right under your feet right here. It comes up underneath underneath that seat right there is the pump, 24 volt. Got an accumulator tank in it, so you know, like an RV or marine one, that so it doesn't go brrr, brrr, you know, all the time. That it allows it to build up pressure. But there's a manifold there for one for hot and one for cold, and it branches to the boat. Everyone's got its own individual switch on it. Like I said, that you can, if you have a problem with a hose here, you don't have to turn the whole boat off. You go right down here. It's labeled, says galley sink. Turn it off. Do whatever work you need to do on it. There's saltwater washdown in the front, and hot and cold fresh water at the rear. We did have the tanks in this thing were bedded into the hull when it was made. Once we got here, we found we had a pinhole in the original 180, I think it was 85 or 88 gallon tank that was in here, and rather than destroying the entire old sole, we made a hatch here, which, pull this off, you pop this hatch up. We had a new tank made out of aluminum, so it's a brand new tank, pressure tested, everything, but we sized it. I sized it down from 180 to mathematically it's like 150 gallons, whether it's 148 or 152. Won't know till you fill it all the way up. But it did it that way so we could slot it into this hole, because here are the two main the beams that run down through the floor. And so I sized it. It's a trapezoidal tank, so it fits into the shape of the hull. But it would slide in, went up, and sat back down, and so it's all blocked in and fastened. But it's brand new tank, and like I say, between maybe 145 and 155. Don't exactly know. Mathematically, it's like 148 or something. So, but that's brand new, also in the boat. So yeah, we're able to do that without having to tear up the entire sole, which means tearing out all of this. And a nightmare when we figured that out. Oh! So yeah, I hope somebody finds it and will love it like we did.
So, as far as what's left to do, would you advise someone to put a generator on the boat, or do you think that it isn't really needed?
It's really up to you. If well, to put a generator in the sense that everybody here, no, because
right,
okay. It has a mechanical battery charger.
Right.
And so whether that mechanical is the Perkins or, like my original plan was going to be the Ferryman, my personal preference at that time was to have two separate, have the Ferryman charging the diesel, so you could charge it up. It uses a whole lot less diesel than having to run the big engine. But plans changed because we thought we were going to try to get out, and there was no finding the thing. So it's something somebody could do, and then you could have two separate, like originally, like I want. You had the 12-volt system running off the motor instead of running through the electrical system. You can still charge it. It runs. You turn on the 24-120. And then it goes to the master volt, and the master volt charges the two 12-volt batteries. So that would be the optimal way to do it. I had to do this because we thought we were going to get in the water, and it was just and that was just changed. But yeah, that's something that somebody could do, and it would be relatively easy. But I still have all the original arms and adjusters for the Balmars. There's two Balmar. There's a 70 amp and a 100 amp Balmar. the 100 amp went out on us about Fort Ritchie when we were coming around. So we pulled into Fort Ritchie, and they only had a 70, and so we bought the 70, and then I took it down. Once we got back here, I took that one down to the alternator guy in Panama City, who is awesome, and had him rebuilt it. So there's a brand new 70 and a brand new rebuilt Balmar 100 amp 12 volt here with it. So yeah, somebody could do what they wanted with it. Yeah. So yeah, that's like I say, if I had my choice again, or I would stick with my original plan.
Right.
I would have a separate mechanical battery charging system, which a stationary motor,
Right.
You know, whatever, running that 24 volt Lee Neville alternator. That's the optimal way. But we thought we were running out of time, and just okay, we'll just deal with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Okay. And then finishing the bottom paint is something that someone would want to do.
Yeah. I mean, it's all been.
That's not much.
Yeah. Well, like I say, there's no sense. The boat's on the hard.
Yeah.
Bottom paint's meant to put on maximum 48 hours before you drop it in the water.
Right.
And so, yes, before it gets dropped in the water, it needs to have the coat of primer, and then the bottom paint.
Okay.
On that.
And then the prop on the bow thruster, I think, is off right now, but it's back there.
It's back there.
I saw that back
got
there.
new screws, new zincs, everything for it. Can't put it back on until you get up in there with the paint and the primer and stuff like that. So it's something like that.
So it's waiting for paint.
Yeah, I got to hook up the cable from the alternator to here.
Yeah.
But if somebody wants to come in, like I say, the things like we got the fold down TV, so you can sit over here and watch TV.
Yeah.
Lights. I do have a Dorade box out there with a really nice Dorade. We just never got it to drill in the hole, but the box is mounted up. The Dorade's here if somebody wanted to use it. Like I say, it's already mounted and it's out there. I mean, there's always little things that people do, but like I say, we've tried to, tried to get it to be within a couple of weeks of dropping it in the water, and it's really just kind of, little tiny things, but that's every individual's got something else is tiny,
that's true.
So
having done this now and gone through 2 years of everything that you've done on this boat, what key advice would you have for someone who was trying to do this?
Whatever you think it's going to cost, and however long you think it's going to take you, multiply it by 3.
Yeah. That's really fair. I think that's really fair. Well, thank you for meeting me.
Yeah, thank you. I certainly appreciate it.
Giving us all a walkthrough of all the hard work that you've done, and I know this is really only scratching the surface because there's light switches in there, and there's all the lights and everything.
Oh yeah, I've tried to do it that
dimmable,
like I said,
different colors.
They're red cabin lights. There's so at night if you have to get up, you go out on deck on watch and you don't want to get blinded, there's one switch that turns on red lights, so you can get in and make your coffee. Under the bimini, white and red lights. White for when you want to party, red when you're out there. I tried to do stuff like that to make it easily accessible. And the same thing in the front and the rear and down. There's red lights, so at night you don't wake somebody up that maybe's asleep on the berth or anything. You flip the red lights on, you don't ruin your eyes. So, that's the kind of stuff that I've tried to do it. But it's been fun.
Good.
But I won't do another one.
I don't blame you. One is enough.
Yep.
So pick the right boat from the get-go.
Absolutely.
Pick the right boat, pick the right bones, and then start your refit and give it your all and make it what you want it to be, because when you get done, you're probably not going to go do it again.
No. You couldn't pay me enough to do this again. It was fun. it was fun. Mike and I we had a great time, and you know, it was fun. But that was it.
Yeah.
That fun's over. I'm gonna go find something else fun
Right.
to do.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so
I
much.
appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
And I'm sure if you guys have any questions or comments that you would like for me to relay to him, I'm sure you'll be watching the comment section, and maybe if you have YouTube, you can chime in and help answer any questions that anyone has.
Okay.
And,
Yeah, that's not a problem.
Yeah. So thank you guys for watching, and yep, this one's up for sale. We've listed it at $129.9, and it's just on the market now. There is another walkthrough video in the listing. I'll put the link to the listing in the description down below, and yeah, see you guys next week.
See ya.